Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to be talking about everything that I made in the months of September and October. I have been pretty busy making a bunch of stuff for my wardrobe, especially for fall winter. I'm in Toronto and I'm moving to a colder city in Canada, so it is absolutely top of mind that I make something or I make a wardrobe that is going to be warm and comfy and cozy and interesting. So that is what I'm doing on this channel, and if that's something that you're interested in, I would love if you subscribed to hang out with me here every week. I post every week, or I've been really trying to. So without waiting any further, let's get into everything I made in the past 2 months. First up is my number one favorite thing that I've probably made of all time, and it is the Claude Sweater from Colibri by Joanna Knits. I'm very happy that I said that all in one take because it is a bit of a mouthful for me and my brain doesn't like to remember it, but we got it. And I love this sweater. If you have seen my feed and you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this sweater a lot because I love it so much. It's super cozy. It's also my first full sweater that I've made by seaming it together, and I've only made this is my third sweater, so I wouldn't say I'm like a sweater connoisseur by any means, but this was a very beginner friendly sewing pattern and I love how it came together. I was a little bit nervous about the seaming part because I've only knit sort of top down raglan style for sweaters, but with this sweater you knit it in 4 parts and then you seam it after and then you pick up stitches to add the collar, and it turned out really well. The gauge was spot on for me and I followed my measurements and it fits perfectly, like through the sleeves, perfectly through the torso. Everything is perfect and I had to make no modifications. One of my favorite features are these big balloon sleeves. I love how it's tapered through the cuff here and then the big wide sleeve. I love that. I actually really like the garter stitch as well. I honestly wasn't really expecting to like it because I feel like it doesn't get a lot of love in the sewing community, but I think it's quite pretty and the overall shape is really classic. And you can see the kind of mohair halo that you get from the merino and mohair together. And the yarns that I used were the Knitting for Olive super fine merino, and then I used the mohair, and this is in deep petroleum blue and this is petroleum blue. I used 2 strands of this one, of the merino, and 1 strand of the mohair, so 3 strands in total for the whole sweater. And I really love the contrast that you get in the stitches from the 2 colors. I had really wanted to make it a solid color, but I think it actually looks quite pretty like this and I'm really happy with it. So that's everything on this sweater. Definitely recommend making it if you are new to the sweater game. I have put on a lot of people to this sweater because I like it that much. Next up is the Orchards dress from Vivian Xiao Chen. I've made this dress before and I posted it. It was the white version in a very, very fluffy, full volume double cotton gauze. And I love that dress so much, but it's not for me as versatile as a black dress. I did want something that I can wear kind of dressed up or down, and also that was a bit more 4-season friendly. Personally, a white dress for me or a cream dress is not something that I'm going to reach for as much in the winter, though maybe I will try to style it this winter. But I do really love this black dress. It came together so lovely. It is in a remnant fabric, so it was 1.5 meters, and I'm actually really impressed that I could get the full dress out of 1.5 meters, considering that this pattern is supposed to be quite voluminous. But that said, it's not voluminous because I didn't have as much fabric as the pattern calls for. So the bodice was all fine, that knit up perfectly, and then I was left with a big rectangle, and I knew that that was going to be for the skirt, so I didn't actually even use the skirt pattern. I just used the rectangle that I had and gathered it all together, and then that was the skirt. So that was a modification, as I didn't use the skirt pattern, and then I also didn't add the bottom ruffle. But otherwise it was a straight size 2, and the differences were just in that I didn't do the skirt. I also didn't do pockets for the skirt because I didn't have enough material, and I omitted the buttons from the blouse part, the top part. patterns. And this fabric is definitely like what made the difference. It's a slinkier fabric, it's a viscose noir, it's lightly textured, and just adds enough visual interest when you're up close to it. And it just drapes like so nicely. It's so pretty. It's really easy styling option, so I love that about it. Next up that I made, another one that I've talked about. I've actually, I think, talked about all of these at some point on my channel, but you know, it is nice to see them all together so you can see some of the colors I'm playing with in the palette and how everything will work together. So this next one is the Luova top or dress from Named Patterns, and it was from their Building the Pattern book. I reviewed the book and I also reviewed this pattern specifically in 2 other videos, so you can check those out if you want me to get more in depth. I won't do that here, but I loved how this turned out. I really like the folded collar. It would be really nice to do it in a slinkier material because the collar I find is maybe a bit thick, but overall, like it's really cool. I love the pattern matching that I did. I'm really proud of the pattern matching. I'd never worked with stripes before, so exploring stripes for the first time and having it work out the way that it did was really, really fun and satisfying. I did snaps instead of buttons. I shortened the length and shortened the sleeves just a little bit, but otherwise made their smallest size a straight size, and it worked out really well. I would recommend this book, but it was a bit challenging to make the pattern itself, I will say. But it was also my first time making a pattern from a book, so that could be why. It was just a bit of a learning curve there for me. But I love this top, and I would show it to you on, except that it is at my mother's, because I visited her and accidentally left it there. So when I get it, it will be on my body, but I will show you some styling that I did with it when I did have it in my possession, because I wore it a lot, and I loved it. It's so versatile, and it works with everything that I've shown you so far. Next up is the Bisque Trousers, and again, I have a video on it if you want to watch that video. I compared the 2 trousers that I made, so that was the wool pair and the bull denim pair. So the wool pair were my first ones. I test sewed that. I keep wanting to say testing it. I test sewed that for Vivian, and I love these trousers. They're like fancy sweatpants, honestly, and they're so warm. They're not a 4-season pant by any means because they are so warm. And it's maybe a little bit itchy. If you're really sensitive to wool, you would want to line them. Vivian lined hers, I believe. But for me, it's fine if I tuck in, like if I wear a tank top underneath my layers and then tuck the tank top into the pants. I find that the itchy part would be around the waistband, but with the tucked in top, I don't find it itchy at all. So I love these pants. I really love how they turned out with the, so I did self pocket, so it's the same lining, it's the same pocket fabric as the rest of the trousers. And then for the bull denim, there are 9-ounce bull denim from Blackbird Fabrics, and the wool is from Riverside Fabrics. I love how you can get such structure from an elastic waisted pant when you just change the fabric around. So while the wool pair are super drapey, the bull denim pair are actually really structured and hold their shape quite nicely and are really also very comfortable. So these 2 I've been wearing so much and will probably continue to wear into the winter, and will work really well with layers as well. If I need to wear tights underneath for some extra warmth, they will be perfect for that because there is enough room through the legs to do it. So these are, if you haven't made this pattern yet, I would definitely recommend it because I really love Vivian's patterns and how she puts pattern pieces together and instructions together. So check that out. It's definitely worthwhile. The last garment that I made is one that I posted about last week, and again, video, you can go check it out if you want more details on that. But it's a vest that I drafted myself and quilted, and honestly I was not happy with it. If you saw that video, a lot of you did, however, encourage me to wear it anyways. You said it looked really good on me and I should not be so hard on myself, and you were right. So I did style it like this yesterday and wore it out, and I loved it. I really liked how it looked. It was really warm. I loved it with this Goodnight Day sweater, and also this is what I meant when I was talking about making chunky knits. I usually always make chunky knits, and this is one of those patterns. It's the Carlisle cardigan. So I would really, really just like to say thank you to everyone who did encourage me to try to wear it and explore wearing it. You're right. There are some things I don't like about it still, and I do have to maybe make some changes, but I wore it yesterday and it felt really good to wear it. So thank you again. I really appreciate you, because it is important to wear the things that you make. It is really important to wear the garments that you produce, because otherwise it's just going to waste. So thank you so much. That's everything that I made. I will also show you this sweater. I didn't knit this, but I did dye it with avocados. And you might be thinking, like, that doesn't look dyed at all, to which you would be right. But it was paler, was a bit of a brighter white before this, but it had a gigantic stain in the middle here. So I boiled up some avocados, dyed it, and I left it in the dye for a long time. So if you come at me saying I didn't leave it in long enough, I absolutely did. But it just didn't pick up the color the way that I thought that it would. But that said, this oatmeal color that it did become is perfect, and it did what it needed to do in that the stains that were on it are not visible anymore. So that's awesome, and is super wearable now. I've already reached for this so many times since dyeing it. So even if it's not a dramatic change, if it's going to make it wearable to you, then it's definitely worth it. I just wanted to quickly slide that in. And then for my works in progress, I'm just about to finish up, probably today, the stash bag from Baguettes. It says, like, I'm making the smallest version. It's very cute and tiny, and it's going to fit in my latest knitting project, which I will talk about next. But to give you a sense of the size, this is the front panel, so it's going to be this big. And these are going to be the straps. So I really like the straps. They're going to be super cute like that. And it's just meant to hold a project. This is the project. I won't give it away, but you can see how tiny it is, and it will fit really nicely in there. And that's for traveling with a knitting project, or just to kind of tote it around the house and have it in a safe spot, especially if you have cats. You know, sometimes they attack the knitting projects. And yeah, I'm going to finish that today and see how it goes. I'm not as big a fan of the cord and denim as I thought that I would be, but I'm going to finish it anyways. It's good to have around, and then maybe if I make another one, it'll be more of a going out bag that is like properly something that I want to carry around. And maybe we'll make some changes to the pockets on that. But for the purpose of holding this project, I think it works pretty well. Which is a good segue into this project. It's the Luova sweater from, I think, Northside Knits. This is very heavily inspired by the Misha and Puff popcorn sweater. Also, I believe Rosary Apparel, Janelle made a sweater in a very similar color and a very similar pattern, also inspired by Misha and Puff. So, I mean, they're like a $500 sweater, at least in Canadian dollars. So they're quite pricey. And while I did, spend some good money on this yarn, it does become a fraction of the price. And even though, like, I love slow fashion and I really support independent designers, but it's not in budget for me. And if I can recreate it supporting an independent knitting designer, then I'm happy to do that too. And supporting independent knitting stores. So, you do what you can. But this sweater is turning out to be so fun to knit. I love the baubles. You can see them here. I think that this is so cute. I'm making the smallest size, and I'm using BC Garn Samilla wool, but I'm loving the baubles. This pattern is definitely like more involved than the Claude sweater. Obviously, like, it in nature will have to be because of the baubles especially, and there's like very specific counts, but I'm finding it really meditative just to have with my coffee and knit and be cozy, and it's been perfect. It's been like the perfect project for me right now, and I love the color, and it just makes me happy to pick it up, and it's so small and lightweight. Well, right now it's going to get bigger, that it's just really easy to throw into a bag or a soon-to-be bag and take it around with you. So I'm really looking forward to finishing this project, and the Claude sweater really turned me on towards knitting with smaller needles and finer yarns to get that lovely, like, tight knit. It just suits me better than big chunky knits. And while big chunky knits are super fun to make because they knit up so fast, this is a good project to work on and have it be kind of the project that is meditative and takes you through the process. So those are my two current works in progress. I have a few other things that I have on my list. So like this jacket that I have posted before, I really love it, but I'm gonna tear out the lining because the lining isn't working with the jacket and is causing bunching in the back because I didn't sew it in properly. So I'm gonna tear that out. I also made I made a jacket for my partner out of this really expensive and very pretty dry oil skin from Merchant & Mills. Unfortunately, it didn't fit him properly. I did a toile, but I'm not used to measuring and making things for other people, so I will have to adjust that for him, or adjust that and make something for myself. So I think I'm gonna make a rain jacket for myself, and I will have enough fabric to do that because I made it for him, and I'll just have to downsize it. And then lastly, I have a video planned for next week where I'm going to be making 2 turtlenecks. Both will be using the Nico pattern from True Bias, but one will be modified and then one will be just straight following the pattern. And I'm going to do that using my domestic sewing machine, and we're going to do that together. I'm going to show you how it goes, and hopefully we have some really cool finished results, at least from the funky one. If the normal one turns out exactly as it should be, I will be happy with that as well. So that's everything for this video. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all your comments and feedback, and having you all here is just, it really makes such a difference. Having your comments and your likes and shares and all of that stuff. So please keep it up. If you don't mind, it really helps me with the YouTube algorithm and really helps me grow this channel. I would love to monetize this channel by the end of the year. Not that, monetization is the most important thing, but it does help me continue to make videos, because if I can include it as part of my income stream, then I can continue to dedicate more time to it. So I really want to keep making content for you guys, and any support is always really appreciated. So thank you again. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.